Hey everybody, welcome back to 4Lights Wellness. My name is Omid, and today I want to talk about a topic that's very near and dear to my brain, called proof, not promises. Now, the reason I wanted to cover this topic, I've got a brand new course that just came out dealing all about trauma and the physiology of the body and how we can use the physiology to rewire the brain. So one of my clients I was telling this about asked me about this concept I talked about in the course, and I wanted to cover it in this video. But one example I give real quick off the bat, if I have a shed and I'm putting tools away, just over and over again, this is no problem. There's proof that this shed is safe. And I can do this over and over again without thinking about it too much. But then one day, I get stung by something. Bee, a wasp, a yellow jacket, a hornet, it doesn't matter. Something stings me near the shed. I run away as fast as I can. I'm not even thinking about what stung me. I just felt pain. And when I feel the pain, my body takes over, it makes me run away. And the most important part is now there's going to be something in my physiology that's afraid of approaching that shed again because there's new proof. And it only took one example. It doesn't matter how many times before that shed was safe. It matters now that there was one pretty big sting that made me a little afraid. And I can tell myself while I'm in the house tending my wounds, I can promise myself over and over and over again that it's safe to go back to the shed. I already called the exterminator. Whatever stung me was taken care of in a humane way, hopefully. I paid the bill. I saw them take it away. It doesn't matter how many times I tell myself that it's safe. The proof was strong enough. The trauma, if you will, was strong enough, and I don't want to go back there. My physiology doesn't. But if I force myself to go, if I wear a bee suit the first couple times I do it, and I go back to the shed over and over and over again in this sort of, exposure therapy sort of way, now there's building up of new proof to say, oh, I approached the shed and I didn't die. I do that over and over and over again until eventually that trauma response has been extinguished. Now let's talk about why this happens and why I drew this whole Rembrandt of a brain up here. I know, I was not an art major, but this green part through here, this is the neocortex, the human part of the brain that's layered on top of the other two. This has everything to do about our languaging, our abstract thoughts, imagination, our intellect, our intention to do things comes from here. This is where everything in life that you want is actually going to get processed in the first place. And the trick with this needs to be a part of the brain that is usually very parasympathetic, very rest and relax. It needs time and space to think clearly so that I can have an intention to tell the rest of the brain what to do. Then we get over to the limbic system, this little yellow space in the middle through here. I don't have the time or energy in this video to actually explain what goes on in the limbic system, but the emotions, the memories, the habits, the attachments, that's all what happens in here, right? I have an intention to do something, and I'm gonna have feelings about that. I might have an intention to go to work and make a lot of money, but I have some feelings and memories about my boss and how they treated me in the past and things like that. And then lastly, we get to the brainstem itself, this reptilian safety, sustenance, sex, and procreation part of the body, the cerebellum where movement and fight or flight actually get processed in the first place happen. And when we're talking about that bee example, right? Let's say a lion jumps out of the bush and starts to chase me and try to eat me. I'm not even gonna have the concept of lion in my brain. I'm not gonna have any feelings about it. I'm gonna go straight to brainstem. I'm gonna run the heck away as fast as I possibly can. A lot of people break toes trying to run away as fast as they can, and there's not even a feeling behind it. It's just get away and survive. I'll have the feelings later, right? So when it comes to understanding this topic about bees and lions and things like that, it's pretty easy. But what happens if, I have the intention of being a nice, happy, healthy human being, kind to others, respectful to others, but I didn't eat enough that day. I had a horrible diet. Well, two of my favorite words, hangry, happens. I start to bite people's heads off and I get hypoglycemic. I start to be a total a-hole because I don't have enough blood sugar to actually feed this front part of the brain. And this back of the brain here says, feed me, Seymour. I need to eat more food. Do whatever you can. This person that's trying to talk to me is getting in the way of me being alive. And we start to override the rest of the brain from this brainstem. It's a big challenge. The physiology can 100% override the psychology. And the reason that's important is because if it happens over and over and over and over again, the neurons that fire together start to actually wire together. Your brainstem starts to get better and better and better and better at overriding your intention in your life. You'll start to operate from a fight or flight response over and over again. And no matter how many times you go to tell yourself with promises that something is not true, there's proof that it was enough times that it started to get wired into your brain. It's a huge problem. And especially with the topic of this new course that I just developed, trauma is a big problem. What I define as trauma is if a stimulus is large enough, right? I got stung by a hornet or a bee or something like that. Or if it's low and long level enough that this wiring starts to happen, we start to get a brain that's now hijacked by the brainstem itself, by the cerebellum, by our fight or flight responses. And it becomes a huge problem because then we try to go do the things that should work, right? Traditional talk therapy and starting to think happy thoughts and affirmations and journaling and things like that. But all we're doing is giving promises to the brain that had plenty of proof in the past that it's still going to hurt the next time it happens. It doesn't even matter if it's the thing that happened in the first place. It rhymes enough with it that I'm going to be triggered right into the back of this brain, and it overrides all of my intention. So this is where the entire problem exists, and this is why I put the whole course together in the first place, is to teach people specific exercises to actually rewire this part of the brain, to get rid of it, to put new proof in that when we put energy into that system, it's not going to kill you. And, I'll give an example for me, right? The guy behind the shed, he keeps walking towards the shed over and over and over again, maybe the first couple times of the bee suit, right? But as he keeps approaching, the new proof starts to get layered on. It's not as big as the first stimulus, but if I do it over and over and over and over again, I start to get enough stimulus back into this brain stuff of, hey, I didn't get stung this time, and it starts to tone down that response. Now I can start thinking about the tools in there. I can start thinking about how much I love my shed. That's my favorite rake, things like that. But like I said, even in my own personal life, social anxiety like crazy. I was so agoraphobic in college that I couldn't even go to the grocery store without headphones in. This was before Bluetooth. I had the big wiring thing and everything like that, the old CD Walkman back in the day. I'm freaking old. But it took a long time for me to try to talk to myself over and over and over again to go to even a party. And it finally was up to one of my girlfriends to literally grab me by the hand, pull me out of the house into this party. And now that there was proof that, yeah, this is a hugely overwhelming crowd to my nervous system, nobody's trying to kill me. What happens? Oh, I go to enough parties and nobody's trying to kill me. In fact, I start having fun. I start meeting people that have the same interests in me. I start becoming the life of the party a couple years later. And eventually this brainstem doesn't even get activated anymore. I'm actively able to listen to what people are telling me and have good, solid, positive emotions about it. So proof, not promises. You've got to get some proofing into the brain in little, tiny, bite-sized ways to override the old trauma. And if it was a big enough trauma, well, you should take my course. It's not that long, it's very affordable, and it's the best, fastest way to change your psychology is to deal with the physiology first. At least that's how it worked for me. That's how it's worked for hundreds of people that I've helped so far. I hope this information was very helpful to you. As always, have a happy and healthy rest of your day, and I'll talk to you in the next one.